Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me today is Siddharth Jain, the Managing Director of INOX Air Products. The group is completing 60 years of its operations in India, and its flagship firm INOX Air Products, which is India's largest manufacturer of industrial and medical gases, has also announced a fresh Capex of 3,000 crore rupees by 2025. There are other plans as well, and I'm going to go across to you, Siddharth, for getting more on what you plan. But before we do that, do take us through the 6-decade journey really that you have undergone as a group, from setting up plants for industrial gases and then a popular brand called Inox, which also has connections with leisure and entertainment, one of the most popular multiplex chains in the country. How challenging has this journey been, Siddharth?
Hi, Siddharth. Thank you for having me on your show. And indeed, it's been a very exciting 6-decade journey where our family began, our first business began under the name Industrial Oxygen. And, when the short form of that is Inox. And that's what gave birth to the brand Inox in the entertainment space. But currently, we've also completed 25 years of our joint venture partnership with Air Products. And as you rightly mentioned, we are the largest industrial and medical gases company in India. In fact, this joint venture is one of the longest lasting Indo-American joint ventures in the country. And it's been running very successfully for the past 25 years. As you say, our journey of six decades, we've entered many businesses, one of them, of course, being the entertainment one. But we also have another business in the cryogenic equipment space, which is called INOX CVA. So it has indeed been a very exciting 60 years.
Many viewers, especially those who watch us for markets coverage, would like to know more about the group because you are unlisted, and perhaps that may change in the future. But let me ask you to expand on the Capex. As we understand it, 2,000 crore already done or in the works, and another 3,000 crore announced. And there was a large deal with Tata Steel. So if you could just take us through all those plans.
Sure, Siddharth. Thank you. So indeed, we've just signed a landmark deal for our company, INOX Air Products. It's a 1,300 crore deal for a 3,600 ton a day plant for Tata Steel. It's the expansion for the recently acquired Bhushan Steel. So they call it Tata Steel Meramandali. And that site is going through an expansion for which they need these industrial gases of oxygen, nitrogen, and argon. They've selected us to supply them on a long-term basis of 20 years. And for us, it's our single largest greenfield investment that we would be doing to date in a single site. It would also be, a single largest liquid manufacturing base in a single site across the country. We are currently present in about 54 operating locations in 17 states. So, we're extremely deeply penetrated. But this site will be a single largest site going forward as a single plant.
Okay. And where else does the Capex by 2025 pan out?
So that we have about 10 different manufacturing sites, construction going on in parallel for 10 different sites. Some of them are for steel companies, some are on merchant plants, some are for solar PV fabs. It's a whole of glass companies. It's a very diverse set of customers that we have in diverse industries, because industrial gases are required pretty much in every manufacturing industry out there. And going forward, we're seeing a large demand in the semiconductor space, as well as the solar PV cell space, which is going to require a large amount of industrial and electronic gases.
Siddharth, what is the likelihood of a further sort of continuing business engagement with Tata Steel or perhaps other companies of the Tata Group, since you just mentioned semiconductor and there is some sort of semiconductor play also in the works? Is there a possible increase in business that you expect in the future?
Absolutely. In fact, this has been our first relationship with Tata as a supplier to them. We recently signed a deal with Tata Solar as a customer, wherein we're going to be procuring 40 megawatts of power, solar power from them in our decarbonizing journey in the state of Maharashtra. And as rightly pointed out by you, Tata Solar is going in for a large investment in Tamil Nadu to make their the PV cells. And certainly there'll be many opportunities with them, not only for solar, but also in their steel expansion as they expand their Kalinganagar and their Jamshedpur works. In fact, they have plans to start, smaller plants in Ludhiana, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and the south as well. And we are in talks with them for all the expansion projects.
Siddharth, considering the size of the sort of India, the varied needs for industrial gases, how large do you expect this sector to become over the next 5 to 10 years from a sort of overall industry size perspective?
Currently, the industrial gases market is about a $2 billion industry in India. And I think normally it grows at 1.5 times GDP. But as you have better manufacturing or, higher grade manufacturing plants come into the country, and as you have developed nations, you have China, when you've got the LED manufacturing, higher grade automotive, so we expect to grow at least 2 times GDP. And now that with the China plus one story, we have seen interest from a variety of multinationals who want to set up shop in India. So I think we're going to have robust growth for the next 10 to 20 years.
On an aside, most Indians became familiar with the importance of oxygen, at least in the piped, stored cylinder form around COVID. And we saw rapid expansions in the healthcare sector with respect to having enough oxygen capacity. Just off the cuff, if you could sort of relate to our viewers, how much has this capacity enhancement been done across the healthcare sector, if you can share any details with us? And is that now, is our healthcare sector adequately prepared with oxygen, for example?
Absolutely. So, during COVID and post-COVID, first of all, I think, the country, the government, all the medical oxygen manufacturers did a fabulous job in, being able to serve the nation as we could at that time. Just INOX Air Products, we serviced more than 50% of the country's medical oxygen needs then. And since that time, we announced a massive capacity expansion of 50%. We announced this back in 2021, and when then we've started commissioning half of it, and the last half is left. We should be done by the end of this calendar year. So we've increased our medical oxygen capacity by 50%. And as a country, the total oxygen production would increase by at least 25%. Apart from the generation, it's also the distribution of oxygen, which
Absolutely.
is equally important, and the setup of the medical storage tanks at more hospitals, and that's increased at a rapid pace. I would say in the past 2 years, there's been at least 500 hospitals that have added liquid oxygen installations to their facilities in the past 2 years.
Okay, that's good to know, and one would really hope that uh, nothing of the sort that we witnessed would ever be repeated again, because practically millions of lives were impacted. I want to turn the subject to another bit of news that I noticed, which was a solar plant in Uttar Pradesh.
Right.
What's happening there? How did you get into solar?
So, our main raw material is electricity. And, we decided to go, like the rest of the world is going down the decarbonizing path, we decided to do the same. And we invested in our own captive solar plant. I think it's the largest in the industrial gases space so far, of 21 megawatts, which we recently commissioned just 2 weeks ago, as you rightly pointed out. We're going to consume this electricity in Uttar Pradesh itself, in our plant in Modi Nagar. So, in effect, making green oxygen. We've also signed, as I mentioned earlier, the 40 megawatt deal with Tata Power, and this is just the beginning. We're going to have a very large portfolio of solar and wind energy across India. We operate in 17 states. So we're going to do this across 17 states in the years to come. So we'll be investing significant capex in decarbonizing ourselves.
Since we are talking about alternative energy, there's a massive plan, for example, in the National Green Hydrogen Mission and net zero by 2070 and being independent in terms of energy sources by 2047. How do you look at this? Does it present any opportunities for you that you may be evaluating?
Most certainly. So our partners, Air Products, are the world's largest manufacturers of hydrogen, and they're actively executing very large green hydrogen projects globally. We are seeing an interest from a lot of multinational players as well as the government PSUs in consuming some green hydrogen, especially the refineries such as IOCL and the other multinationals who have adopted this same philosophy globally have asked their Indian arms to do the same. So for us, hydrogen is a natural extension, and it's going to be a huge game going forward. I mean, when we're talking about replacing uh, fossil fuels with hydrogen, you can just imagine the quantum of investment would be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So we're very excited with this opportunity. We're seeing the cost of green hydrogen come down as well. And with the National Hydrogen Mission promoting with the PLI scheme, I think we're going to see the cost of manufacturing green hydrogen come down as well.
Okay, and in terms of any concrete steps for expanding into this space?
We are in talks with at least 10 different companies currently who are evaluating, consuming green hydrogen. There are a lot of steel companies who've been doing experiments to start using hydrogen in their blast furnaces. And if that happens, steel industry is one of the largest CO2 emitters in the world. And the entire industry has been taking a lot of proactive steps in trying to decarbonize themselves. And we've been working with them and we'll continue to do so.
Is there a risk that you see for a broader industry in India with regard to the shift towards, zero carbon, zero emissions? And is Indian industry prepared, doing enough, or is it going to be a last-minute race that they might have to join?
As we've seen in the renewable energy space, India has already taken a lead globally, where I would say some of the cheapest renewable energy is available in India compared to the West. And once again, it's going to follow exactly the same story. Uh, Indians know how to execute large capex plants cheaper than any other place in the world, and the cost of hydrogen is going to be a function of the of our capital expenditure. So if we're going to be more efficient in capex, that's going to reduce the cost of our hydrogen going forward. And I'm confident that all the Indian industrialists and the industry in general will make sure that India has the lowest cost hydrogen in the world.
Do you think the hydrogen race will be won by large conglomerates? Several of them have announced plans in the Indian context, or is it going to be a disruptor, maybe a startup of the kind who will probably do this?
The demand is so large, Siddharth. You can imagine if you're talking about replacing the fossil fuel economy of India, there's no one, two, or five players who can do it. You're going to need 10, 20, maybe 50 players who would be doing it. Some may be large, some may be small, but there's enough room for everyone to participate in this space.
Okay, that's a fair point. Uh, I want to also get you to tell our viewers about the cryogenic equipment business. That's like a niche perhaps, but how's that business doing and how significant is that opportunity in the Indian context?
Sure, we are the largest cryogenic equipment manufacturer in India and the third largest in the world. We're very unique where we design, engineer, fabricate, execute projects in the cryogenic space for transportation and distribution, both locally as well as globally. So we supply to over 70 countries globally. And I think the made in India product, what we do, is widely accepted. Recently, we supplied some of the world's largest liquid hydrogen tanks to South Korea. It was for a French customer who was setting up a liquid hydrogen plant, a green liquid hydrogen plant in South Korea. So you can imagine a French customer placing an order and equipment being supplied in the East. So and making equipment to store liquid hydrogen requires tremendous amount of skill sets. There are not too many companies in the world doing that. So this company is about 30 years old, started in 92, 93. It's running successfully. It's a private company. And, we're very excited with the growth opportunities. We work a lot with the scientific community, the space community. Now, we help build for ISRO, the second launch pad in Sriharikota. We supply equipment to the global, some of the largest private space companies in the world. A lot of the helium equipment required for the scientific projects in Europe are supplied by us. So it's a great deal of in-depth engineering and manufacturing excellence that we have.
For our viewers, I have to say this, that what Siddharth just said is one more example of the depth and capability of Indian manufacturing. 2 decades ago, many people used to say India can't do anything in manufacturing. It's going to be a services nation. We are good at it. We have manpower. We have educated manpower, and Indians have a certain way of doing things, and therefore that is going to be what will drive the Indian economy. But lo and behold, this was just one example of countless many others all across, where Indian companies are doing very significant things in manufacturing, and best wishes for that. But you said, Siddharth, that this company is private. Right. Is there a chance that it will go public anytime soon?
That we are always evaluating capital raising opportunities, and we certainly may. That's for the board to decide, but you never know.
Okay. A lot of people who look at unlisted jewels, and in a previous outing, there was a program that we had conceptualized called Unlisted Jewels, which talked about unlisted companies and their potential for the future. So I would say that I'm having a conversation with and for unlisted jewels that you have in your group. Let's step out of specific companies and get you to tell our viewers about the ledger business. You are now out of it in some ways. PVR is the majority owner, but a lot of people know your brand through that, the big B2C brand. And while that business is out, management control has shifted, and I understand you may not want to talk about operations, but what has it meant for you with this deal now being completed?
So Siddharth, first of all, we aren't out of it. We merged with PVR, and the brand very much exists. The company is now called PVR Inox. We are the largest shareholders of the company, but we have non-operating roles. We're non-executive directors. Mr. Ajay Bijli is the managing director. His brother Sanjeev Bijli is an executive director, and they're doing a fabulous job. We just had a board meeting yesterday, in fact, and the company is obviously, it has its ups and downs because of the entertainment sector, but the future of the cinema exhibition space in India is extremely bright. We are a country which completely loves, entertainment and films, and we have such a diverse set of customers. We have a diverse set of content with South Indian, or rather regional, Hindi, and Hollywood, and our audiences lap up all of them. So I think currently we have about 1,700 screens, and but we are going to focus more on profitable growth going forward. So the heady days of just blind growth are gone, and it's certainly going to be more focused on profitable growth. But it's a very exciting business.
You have an old business history, and therefore viewers would perhaps want me to ask you, are you planning any other new major ventures? Do you have the appetite for going beyond what you're doing?
Yeah, so that Indians, families like us are, constant entrepreneurs, or as they say, serial entrepreneurs. But right now, I think we have our hands full. There's plenty to do for the next couple of years. But if something does come by, you'll be the first to know.
Well, that's an important thing, and companies like yours will continue to look forward to such diversifications. Siddharth, I'm going to thank you for your time with us and sharing all those details. And among the headlines, I'm going to repeat what you said in response to perhaps considering going public. You said one never knows, and hopefully, when it is known, we'll come back to you and talk to you about that as well.
Absolutely, sir. It'll be my pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
for
much
taking
for your
time
time.
in. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Bye bye.
Okay.
With that, it's a wrap on this conversation with Siddharth Jain, the Managing Director of INOX Group. We'll be back with more. Till then, goodbye.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.